Welcome to the show.
Oh, that was abrupt. Thank you for having me. So grateful to be here.
Are you really?
All these lovely thrillers. Do you have a name for your listeners?
No.
You call them thrillers.
They're just the plebs.
Plebs?
Yeah.
Or we can eat on your podcast?
Yeah.
They don't mind you eating into the microphone?
No, they love it.
Oh.
ASMR. Friendly podcast.
Smack my gum in it. Oh, cool. You shared the SNL stream on Synchronous. I just noticed that.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Cool.
I do a lot of things. Where's your shirt?
That's what I do. My shirt, it's the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. I said, who are you?
Wait. Who? I don't remember the caterpillar. Was that the one that she met? Like, where does he come out in?
Yeah, she's like, gosh, I'm so bad at remembering movies, but she's lost. She's walking around. She finds this caterpillar who's like laying around, and he's like, who are you?
Oh, wow.
And he's like blowing smoke. And I think he does some like word games with her. I forget. He like spells out letters. I was thinking of putting on the Stacker News.
I was gonna say, because on the site you do have like a lot of Alice in Wonderland stuff.
I mean, there's two little Alice in Wonderland pieces. I want to do a little bit more of it.
Where does that mean, Keyan? Like, I know subliminally you're saying something. Is it because like you're down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, I mean that was kind of where that's like the link that I made with Alice in Wonderland is the rabbit hole. She's Alice is in a rabbit hole through that whole movie.
I'm surprised there's no Bitcoin merch with like Alice in Wonderland tied to it.
I'm surprised too. I don't know what there might be copyrights and stuff associated with it. I have no idea.
Stop Bitcoiners.
When they get like VC funding and go corporate. Yeah, I have two. My 404 page is Alice lost in a maze.
Like a little maze, yeah.
And then my 500 page is Alice, a gif of Alice falling through the rabbit hole for the first time. But I wanted to add the caterpillar on the login page somehow, but the problem is it's like a little bit too much probably.
Yeah, probably.
So it's better as like a hidden kind of element maybe in certain places, but it's probably not great for like the first interaction.
You should do this, like where if you see people like doing multiple, or when you can keep hitting. I remember in the beginning days, this is before like when Stacker News took off and I had to watch my SAT limit. But in the beginning days, I would just hit the bolt, just so I can see the bolt slide up. I remember thinking that was like so novel. I was like, whoa, look, I can keep hitting it. The bolt come up. Maybe you do it after like 1,000 clicks or something, and then it becomes like this caterpillar that just like pops out.
Yeah, but what's nice about the caterpillar is there's like some you kind of want it loosely related to the context in which the caterpillar appears. So he's kind of saying, who are you? So it'd be great on a login page, right? Or it could be great on the profile page, maybe. I don't know. Well, I'll think about it more, but I do want to do more animations. I feel like one of my concerns with the site is it stops becoming fun. Like I really want it to stay fun. And the animation was one part of like putting fun in. I'm thinking of like when you get a reward for the day and you go into your notifications for the first time, maybe there's like an Aurora Borealis like animation over the screen, dude. Would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I feel like Amboss does really well, right? Where it makes it like visually fun. Yeah. There's a lot of Bitcoiners who are thinking about design. A lot of the newer projects, they have like an element of fun, and I think it's really refreshing and nice. We all like things that are fun. Do you think the prior, like the past, the prior generation of Bitcoiners, like if we look at generation per every 4 years, would you say they don't look at stuff fun, or have you seen fun from them, like in their products or in their companies? That's an
interesting point. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what generation fold is. Is it kind of new?
Yeah, I would say it's this cycle.
It's probably this cycle on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like they're a little bit more.
Do you want some chocolate?
I think to be no, thank you. What percentage cacao is it?
Oh, dude, we had some cacao in Mexico City.
I'm like 90%.
Yeah, this is just
dark. Ooh. Toffee is great though. Toffee.
Yeah, it's just toffee and like some other.
No, thank you. It also looks melted, like it was on your.
Yeah, it was my pocket.
It's also like 105
Hey,
degrees.
It looks kind of like, yeah, it melted a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like the last generation of Bitcoiners is just they're more serious. I think you had to be. I think.
Do you think they'll ever grow out of it?
But they're also funny in terms of like a trolling. Like a lot of them do have a great sense of humor in terms of their trolling. Mm-hmm. But I think they're professionally, a lot of them seem a little more uptight.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I don't know what that is, but
do you think it's because like the early days of Bitcoin scarred them maybe?
That could be it. Maybe they learned, they had some tough lessons maybe, or it could just be, I think a lot of early Bitcoiners, ones who really stuck around, were quite philosophically aligned. Like they were like very serious, like very Austrian economics oriented, or like a cypherpunk type. And so those are fairly serious things. Like you're very counterculture to be part of those groups. And I think to hold that line, you might have to be quite serious, but I don't know.
Do you think just these new Bitcoiners coming in, do you think we're still like that? Because we're like from 2020 Bitcoiners? We're like this new class of Bitcoiners?
Yeah, I think we're like we care a little less. I think we care a little less about the philosophy. I think we like absorb it. We have to. Yeah. It's kind of like how people who started using the internet like in 1995, like maybe they weren't like super aligned with like free access to information yet. They didn't really get it. They were used to like paying for their encyclopedias or whatever, and they didn't really get it. But then they started using the internet, and you kind of just like it begins to be like a fact of life. Like I think the monetary policy of Bitcoin become a fact of life. Like money should be this way. I don't think you need to like. It'll, in my opinion, it'll just win, and then everything else will have to explain itself. Right now, still, I think a little bit Bitcoin has to explain its existence. Like, why is the money deflationary? Why?
Right.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how that works. And this goes back to what you were talking about originally about that Alice in Wonderland reference. I can't imagine BitFinex like throwing Alice in Wonderland references on their website.
Oh, they just have too much money. I mean, it is like risky. Yeah.
Is it though?
That's what I love about having a young product. I don't know. Like, it seems dangerous to have you and I were having a conversation about like design a little bit earlier, and there is like this impulse as you get more and more mature to like smooth out your design and become a little more generic, fit in, look like Facebook, look like Instagram. Yeah. Look like everything that everyone else is familiar with, become mainstream. There's like a softness, like you lose your edge. And I feel like that's just like, that can have like as a company matures, that can be like a direction you get pulled in, is to like lose your edge. I think some companies manage to keep it. I feel like Snapchat kept their edge for quite a while. I don't know how they're like doing now.
Yeah, I don't know Snapchat anymore. I feel like I was using it back in like 2017, somewhere around there.
I remember using their app a bit and being like struck by some of the bold like color choices they had. Like they had this very like bright yellow, lots of like pinky colors, lots of blues. Yeah, it was quite. It felt very refreshing.
Even the ghosts that they used.
Yeah, right? The ghost was very cool. And so they seemed to keep their edge. I mean, I don't know if it's that way anymore, but that's kind of my fear is that you lose some of your boldness as you get old.
I would say even more than that. It's not so much losing it. It's just that everybody around you copies, right? So like what basically, we take Snap for example, like what Instagram copied a lot of their features, Facebook copied a lot of their features. I mean, a lot of apps did, right? And then it becomes like, it's not novel anymore. Then it just becomes like out there in the world where everybody has those same features and has those same things. And then how do you distinguish yourself at that point? Does it come back to the founders and them having to reinvent again or keep building towards that initial vision? Like, how does that work?
Well, I mean, you see a lot of people right now, like we have a contemporary example in TikTok where a lot of like Facebook is copying TikTok. I think even LinkedIn has like a TikTok type product in their product. I think Twitter Twitter, I don't think has done that yet, but there's just no catching. There's no catching TikTok because they're just resolute, and that's their one mission is this like video app, and so there is no confusion about what they do, and so I think it's just like staying focused and continuing to build. At least that's the only way that I think that I can
staying focused on those core features. You mean
focused on the core thing that you started developing, the thing that people are copying. Do it better than them. They probably, if you're focused on that, if you have, a big team or a small team and they're only thinking about those things, it's unlikely that I think someone like a Facebook fully absorbs it. It depends on the stage of your company though too. Like Twitter Spaces seems to have killed Clubhouse.
Yeah, I logged into Clubhouse the other day, and I looked at it. It was just completely it has way more options, way more things, and like you have a schedule now. There's a calendar in there, and it's just like overwhelming. Where I was just like, yeah, I don't want to do this. Like it's just too much to take on. It was just too much going on in that app now. Where I was like, I remember when I could just jump into a thing and then get there. Now it's like, yeah, it's just too much. They're trying too many features all at once.
Yeah, they're trying to solve a bunch of problems, and I think unfortunately for Clubhouse, their app really benefits from an integration with a social network because it's real time, because like you have to like get everyone's attention to know that it's going on. And so it makes more sense being part of Twitter than it does being its own app that you have to open and look and see if anyone's on there versus you're already on Twitter and I see that, Corey has a rant on Celsius or something. And
do you ever go into spaces?
I don't really ever go. And I went into the spaces you guys were doing for the Bitcoin Design Club.
Oh yeah. That's the one I did here recently.
Yeah, I was on that for
Paul
a bit.
It's a hill.
Yeah, I popped in briefly. I was telling Paul that I heard him go on a little bit of a rant about VCs.
Yeah, what's up with that?
What's up with what?
With this interesting take these days from Bitcoiners. Not so much Paul. I'm not trying to single out Paul. I'm just saying, like in general, they're just they're no longer wanting to take VC money.
I don't. So Paul's point, just to like distinguish it a bit. His main point was that a lot of these VC like Web3 companies have really beautiful design. So it's like all surface and no substance was kind of his point. And you can there's like a correlation there between having a bunch of money, having great like marketing and design budgets, but then having no substance. And his point during ABDC was that Bitcoin companies go the opposite way, where they start with substance and their design tends to lack and their marketing tends to lack. And I thought that was an interesting point. But I also get what I also hear a little bit is like there is like a little bit of derision towards venture capital, taking venture capital, because I think we like as Bitcoiners we see it as like a symptom of the like fiat kind of world a little bit, like wealth concentrating, Cantillon effects. A lot of these people might be investing with borrowed money that they got at very low interest rates that they have because they collateralized an asset they acquired on other debt. It's just layers and layers of fiat, right? And so I think that's a lot of it. But like one of the bigger I think proponents of this point of view against venture capitalists, I think Jimmy Song has some fairly hot takes on venture capital in general. He thinks that it's quite corrupt and even like amoral, and that it's supporting a lot of businesses existing who might not otherwise deserve to exist. I don't know if I agree though, and because I think like Stacker News certainly wouldn't exist without venture capital. I mean, I'd still be working on it, but I'd have a full-time job at some company that got venture capital probably. And so I think, and then the other aspect of venture capital that's interesting is you have people with skin in the game in your company. And that's really useful because a lot of them have a lot of experience in areas that you don't, and them having skin in the game, like, incentivizes them to help you. And that's almost more valuable than the money to me.
Yeah, and like this is where it goes back to the way I see it when it comes to VC. Like a lot of these guys are invested into other companies that can put you on to get you a funnel into these different aspects of the space, and just not in the Bitcoin space, but like in the greater. Like, you have Draper Labs here, right? Like they promise so much to the companies inside of Pleb Lab, what they would deliver, what they would help you with, all this kind of stuff. But in reality, like if you want to get it bigger than where it is, that's kind of what they do, unfortunately, because Bitcoin doesn't have a marketing department. Bitcoin doesn't have, these things where you can kind of put them on, because a lot of that stuff is, unfortunately, it's controlled by a very few individuals. And if you want to go through those funnels, you need their backing.
Yeah, their networks become very valuable. They become potential acquirers of your company if it's not doing well. I mean, to Jimmy's point, there are companies who get a lot of funding before they even have users. They get a lot of funding before they have product market fit. And
lightspark's a perfect example of that.
They don't even have an idea, but they got a lot of money, ridiculous amounts of
money.
How much
did they get again?
And a ridiculous. I heard from someone that they raised, I think it was $125 million.
What are you doing with all that money? It doesn't make any sense.
But you imagine you do some extrapolation, you do some calculation, and you have like most venture-backed companies, they sell 10% of their company at a pre-seed stage, and so their valuation is close to $1 billion before they have an idea.
120 million for an idea from David Marcus.
Before an idea.
Of all people.
Just a team. No
Everything
idea.
That he's built turned to crap.
They have a vague
You're betting
area.
on the wrong horse.
But he's associated with all the Silicon Valley greats. He rubs all the right elbows. He believes Ethereum will be the programming layer of Web3. Who doesn't want to back that guy? Am I right?
Oh man, this is where I forget who I was talking to the other day, but we were talking about like talent inside of Bitcoin, and basically we come to like the summarization that great talent finds each other inside of Bitcoin, and truly only the cream of the crop rise to the top when it comes to Bitcoin and talented people, because at some point, if you keep doing the thing that you're doing, somebody's going to notice it and float it to the top where a lot more people are going to know who you are. And that just happens over the course of your proof of work of how much you've contributed to it.
That's possible. I think there are probably people doing great work in Bitcoin who maybe don't get as much attention as they deserve, just because their visibility is lacking. But I think
so. I think that's by choice, though. It seems like to me these days, where like the people that don't want to be noticed, they make every effort not to be noticed. This goes back to the privacy thing.
I don't think they would say that. I would say there are probably people building in Bitcoin who wish they had more visibility than they do. They feel like they deserve more. I think.
Can you think of somebody right now on top of your head?
No, I mean, I'm just thinking of a post on Stacker News where someone was like, "Where are all the Bitcoin projects?" And then someone was like, "Here's a bunch of Bitcoin projects. None of these Bitcoin projects get any attention at all." And so
that's what I try to do on Thriller Bitcoin, man. It's like literally write about these people, but send them in. car@thrillerbitcoin.com. I'll write about it. And this is where, like, for me and how I see myself in the space is like, I want to help as many people as I can because I want Bitcoin to succeed over the course of time. But if you're not asking, if you're not putting yourself out there, how are we supposed to find you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think some people are just like kind of bad at shilling, bad at kind of communicating what they're doing, and that's part of the problem. But I would just get like a bit of a devil's advocate to like talent finds talent. I think talent finds talent when it's like when talent is looking for talent. Like I don't think it naturally emerges. Like the person has to be fairly intent on it. This is like you and Kyle have been talking about like pimping me out to conferences where I talk about Pleb Lab and wear Pleb Lab merch. I hope my Pleb Lab merch has sleeves.
I didn't say you get to wear Pleb Lab merch.
I'm pretty sure that's what you said.
No, I said just wear your typical Stacker News attire, which is. I think
you said right. No. You said you want to see me.
I just want to look, dude. In the hat. I want to see you up on there talking, because I feel like I have these conversations with you all the time, and no one talks like you. What's wrong with that? Wanting to see their friend up there?
I thought you were saying you wanted to see me in a Pleb Lab hat.
No, we don't even have a Pleb Lab. Oh, I guess we kind of do. No, I really want to see you up there, dude. Like, when I talk to certain people, I feel like I can get all the same, roughly the same kind of, answers from like a group of people. And then there's like maybe 3 or 4 people in my circle where I know that person's going to tell me something completely different than anybody else. You're one of those people, and there's 3 others, which I won't name, but like, that's what I'm trying to say, man. It's like, you have that extra little thing that it's like, it's probably all the microdosing you do, but it's like way out there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're microdosing right now.
Microdosing is bad.
But you know what I mean, though. It's just a different way to look at the same problem. And I think a lot of us Bitcoiners struggle with the same problems, and they're not looking at it from like a different perspective. Sometimes they're hearing it from the same people all the time. And I think you're one of those people that looks at things a little bit different, obviously. I mean,
yeah, it's very nice of you to say.
That's all I want, man.
Yeah, no, I think I was saying that
this is actually a really good job.
Like, if I were going to talk about Pleb Lab ever, when you guys pimp me out to some conference John, I think I would talk about how you should try to find people to work with, and it's really important to try to like find. I'd probably talk mostly about tribes, and how I think that's like probably one of the most important things you can do for your career in Bitcoin or not, is to find other people to work with. I think it's like one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my career today was like staying remote in a small college town and just being kind of isolated and like engaging passively on the internet, and not even that actively on the internet. Like, you see people who are like remote in Bitcoin on the internet, but they're very active on social media. They're like, they spend all their time on social media. I think they found their digital tribe, but I think finding a digital tribe is much harder, particularly for some people, than finding an in-person one. And so just having like having people to rally with on your collective like goals is so valuable. And I think that's mostly probably what I would end up talking about. And I think that's like the value of living in a big city. It's much easier to find a tribe in a big city than it is if you're isolated somewhere. That's
interesting that you said that. Because when I first met you, I knew right away we clicked on a lot of different things. And I was like, yeah, this is a guy who, he reminds me of a lot of friends that I used to have when I was younger in bands and stuff. I was like, yeah, this is a guy I will definitely collab with on something. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I just want to be in his orbit, And yeah, it kind of built from there. So I do know that having you in my orbit to bounce off ideas, good and bad ideas, and vice versa. I'm sure you would say the same, bouncing off ideas off of me. It's like good and bad. Yeah, man, tribes, right? Dang.
Yeah, I think it's like
fucking tribes.
Yeah, it's humans. I think humans, that's like our main strength, is that we're like social, and that we kind of share. We like share what's inside of our brains better than any other species on Earth. I mean, our brains are also like better, but part of like what makes them better is like this ability to share, and this ability to kind of like learn and continue learning. And I think that, you do that in a group atmosphere enough times, like you begin to get better and better faster. And and then you also helping each other. You're not just like lone wolfing it.
Yeah, lone wolfing, it's hard, man.
Yeah, you don't want to. I definitely don't. I thought I could lone wolf it forever, and I probably wasted like 5 years.
It literally doesn't work lone wolfing it, man. If you're building something and you're lone wolfing it, man, you have to be. Yeah, it's just too much to take on all on one person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you move the mic down a little bit? I should have, so we can see your face.
I kind of like that it's hiding my face.
Calm down.
Here we go.
Right there. There we go. You see those beautiful eyes.
Oh, look at that.
Hi, guys.
Can you believe it? Yeah, man. I really think you might be onto something there with the tribes thing. I mean, I've heard other people say tribes too, but I never heard it described in a way.
There's a book by a guy named Sebastian Younger, I believe. He's been on like Joe Rogan's podcast quite a bit.
And he talks about tribes?
Yeah, he has a book called Tribes, and it's all about this kind of like phenomena. I think he was like a journalist in like war zones and stuff, and kind of saw how like I think from my recollection, he would see people in war, and they would have like camaraderie and things, and then they'd leave and they'd be without the tribe, and that was like one of the more devastating aspects of them having left. And I think there were a number of other observations that he made with respect to tribes, but I feel like this is very true. I feel like having other people around and having like mutually beneficial relationships with them for whatever goal you have, whether that's career or otherwise, like super useful. So that's what I would probably talk about in stage. I have to talk about Pleb Lab. I don't know what else I'd say about Pleb Lab, but that feels like the main value.
The main thing you would provide.
Yeah.
I don't think most people know that. I talk about it all. I talk about it in a different sense of a scene.
Community.
Like I always say community. But I always say like scene. I always say like the scene. Like that was the thing where when I was growing up, there was like all these musicians, we would play together. Everybody would hang out the same places. It was very much like Bitcoin. It reminded me of that. Like everybody was super creative. Everybody was doing cool stuff. You needed a track, like a bass track, you wouldn't call this guy. Guitar track. It was all those things you needed to record. You needed to buy a piece of gear. It was all very much a part of the scene. We would all lean on each other to create whatever creative project we were trying to do. And then, so like when we started doing this here in Bitcoin, it was very much similar to that. It reminded me very much of the same thing. So I didn't really know it was called a tribe until here recently, but I always just called it was a scene, and everybody would help each other in the community. But
yeah, scene is a good word. I know it's very common in music circles to call it a scene.
Everybody put each other on.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to cultivate that scene to grow. So that way, when you create that bigger scene, all eyes are looking at the scene as opposed to looking at one individual standing out. Yeah, don't get me wrong. In a scene, there will be like some really standout characters. Yeah. Some standout characters, right? But it tends to be that out of that scene that grows, it's usually that one that you don't expect is the one that actually shoots to the top. And it's kind of like, whoa, I never saw that guy. I remember when he was doing this, this, and this. But it was because out of the full scene, everybody, when you collectively do that together as a tribe, everybody gets put on.
Yeah.
And it works faster. It's a collective. It works faster that way.
Yeah.
That was always plain as day. It was always plain as day to me.
Yeah.
Here in Austin. It was always plain as day. And I think maybe you got it. But I mean, I feel like other people didn't get it here in this town until recently.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it seems like some people still don't think that way entirely.
It's kind of dumb though, because if you think about it, like, you can't be the biggest thing on your own. Like, who wants to do that?
But then you have to think a lot of other people don't even want to, they want a traditional kind of, they're not very ambitious, I guess is the way to say it, where they just kind of want a job. They don't care about getting
or creating a scene or creating a vibe.
A scene. They don't care about like reaching their peak as a human. They just want a job, and they want to like engage in whatever like leisure activities where maybe they're a little more invested. I don't know, like that's the impression I get with people who don't seem to like care about these kinds of things, as they aren't that ambitious. I just don't think. I think these things are kind of obvious if you're ambitious for like long enough. I mean, for me, it took me a long time to realize that was important. I thought.
Were you not ambitious before?
No, I was always ambitious. I just thought I could be ambitious alone, and I would get far being ambitious alone. And it was actually quite difficult being ambitious alone.
I'm smiling because I remember the first time I met you. And you were like, you made that face. You always have that face like that. Mm. It's the best face. It's my favorite face of yours. You go like that. When I saw you in Miami, We were at that shitcoin or the shitcoin panel or whatever.
Jeremy Rubin's.
No, it wasn't Jeremy Rubin.
It was on Jeremy Rubin's OPC TV thing.
I don't think so.
It was.
It was an Ethereum event.
Nope.
Okay.
It was Jeremy Rubin's thing.
Agree to disagree. Anyway,
there's no. It's a fact. That's when
I saw
you for the first time. They had someone from Ethereum there talking about some of the advantages to some of the way the Ethereum development ecosystem works in an effort to like be like, we should bring these ideas to Bitcoin.
How did that work out?
I don't know. They're still working on OPC TV. They still have these pleb files.
So anyway, so we met each other there, and I literally said, "You, we're gonna be friends when I get back to Austin." Did you actually believe me? I said that. I scared you, I think.
I don't think you scared me. I just didn't know what I was like, okay, what does this guy mean by that? I was like, oh, that's interesting. That was an interesting thing.
And then when you came back, we met each other at BitDevs. And you were like...
You were sitting in front of me. And they actually announced at that BitDevs, I think it was Ryan Gentry, he was talking about PlebFi. And then your hand goes up immediately. He's like, I want everyone to know that this was a shitcoin conference.
It was.
Everyone should know it was a shitcoin conference.
It was.
Just full disclosure. And then Ryan Gentry is like, no, it wasn't a shitcoin conference. They did have these people speak. And you're like, no, it was there. I had to leave. Me and several other people had to leave.
It was awesome. And then at that point, why did you come up to me anyway? Because afterwards, you were like, man, this guy's probably trouble. Did you think that?
No, I was just like, hey, I met you there. I was very new to Austin. And so I was like trying to meet people still and make friends. And I always try when I go to at first when I was going to BitDevs, I would try to meet a new person every time. Like some people have more ambitious networking goals than that. Like Thomas Johns, he said he tries to meet 5 people that's like his goal for networking when he goes to like an event. Mine is 1. I just want to meet one person and then I feel good. I feel
you guys actually think about that stuff? Why not just go to the event and like have fun?
No, I don't. So that's why it's just one person for me. But because otherwise I would probably not talk to anyone. So if I don't have a goal, I would not talk to anyone. It depends on how introverted you are. Like if you're quite introverted, okay, your goal would actually be 0. So you need to your natural goal would be 0. Having fun for you might be 0.
I'm full on extrovert.
Yeah. So for someone like me or Thomas Johns, it's like I need to have a goal that's different from my natural goal, which, mine is just like I meet one person, I get to know them quite well. In our case, I just think I said hello to you and you gave me your card, which I was impressed by. I remember when you were at PlebFi, you were like, you tend to be a bit of a big talker, and you're like, just reach profitability on Thriller. I was like, wow.
Was I wrong?
I was like, wow. You're like, yeah. It's like I just got profitable. Here's Sleeveless Sam over here. Kyle, can we see Kyle? You can't see Kyle on the camera.
But no, that's interesting though. I didn't realize I had said all those things. I was such a young.
Are we?
Yeah, who cares? We're out of here in 2 days.
Oh, how awesome.
Dare. It's so funny because.
I see. He says you're being loud.
That's okay. We're out of here in a couple days anyway. I forget what I was gonna say. God. Oh yeah, but it was such a young Bitcoiner, man. Like. Last year to this year, like, isn't it weird how, like, I wouldn't say my entire mindset changed, but man, I didn't know jack. I thought I knew everything, and I didn't know nothing. And even now, I still don't feel like I know anything.
I think you oscillate between humble and confident. I think you tend to have moments like that. But yeah, I remember at that event, I was like, wow, he has a publication that's profitable. That's pretty freaking
because
cool.
we were on Substack.
Yeah.
Then they started pulling down our post, which wasn't good. But I think it was more like music related. So I would just throw music on there. I didn't care.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Copyright.
Copyright's a son of a gun. That's why I just do like indie bands now. They won't care.
Yeah, they at least don't have lawyers to come after you.
Yeah.
Which is another thing.
It's good to have an LLC.
Yeah, it protects you.
Yeah.
You can just your company can go under.
Did Stacker News have an LLC when you first started?
No, I started out with a C Corp.
Oh, you did?
Well, I didn't start out with any company at all. So my move when I start companies is to not actually form companies. It's just to I actually don't care about it being a company until it has like serious traction, like
revenue, right?
Yeah, around the time it has revenue, if I begin to need a company, like the medical image company.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. That's how we met. You were like, yeah, I do this medical thing, and this is where I learned here. And I was like, wait, what? Did you still running that?
That company is still running. It still makes a little bit of money.
And you generate money from it?
Yeah, I generate ad revenue.
Oh, wow.
Like a couple grand a month.
Whoa, really?
I don't get paid from it. It just accumulates in a bank account.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But for a long, I think we ran that for like a year or two. No, maybe more, maybe like 3 years. And we didn't even have a company behind it. We just
let it keep going.
Why do we need a company? That's extra work. I gotta pay taxes on when you form an entity. You gotta pay you form a C Corp, but you gotta pay like $500 a year. And we weren't making money. It was just like growing. And so we didn't like try to monetize it yet. So why do we need a company? Let's not form a company.
When you started Stacker News, did you, so you said you didn't start a company, but did you,
I started a company in December of last year.
How much did it cost you actually to roll out Stacker News? Like, let's just look at like the nuts and bolts of like cost to roll out something like Stacker News. How much did it actually cost you that weekend to roll it out that first weekend?
What do you mean costs?
I mean like actual like fiat dollars.
How many fiat dollars went out? I think zero. I mean,
really? How?
Like the domain name.
The domain. So it cost you $15 to make Stacker News.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the
actual cost,
the biggest expense in software is humans. Like that time, the time of humans, people who are skilled enough to build things. That's the main cost in software, and that's why when software takes off, it's worth a lot of money because you can just reproduce it over and over and over for nothing.
Cool.
The marginal cost is zero. Is basically what that's
kind
called.
Of like podcasts.
Yeah, kind of like any media has that property, especially digital media.
That's why media is so important, because like if you're really good at digital media, then it goes up higher. So the more talented you become over the course of years or whatever.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah.
So you would say hypothetically, or if you go back, like it costs you like $15 for the domain, and then from there you just spun up like AWS servers, which was probably a free trial, and then whatever human capital that you put in.
Yep, that's it. That's how you make software these days. You can pretty much get something off the ground for free.
And then how much is it worth right now? How much is Stacker News worth right now according to these investors?
Oh, how much is the company worth? So the preferred stock is valued at $25 million cumulatively. Really?
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm like, can't believe
you knew the valuation.
But you started it for $15.
Yeah, but I put like a year of work into it. So
wow, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
because you literally invested in yourself. That's the point I'm trying to drive to, is like you literally had this idea. You spent the better part of a year building it. Like the fiat dollars.
6 weeks building it.
Well, 6 years, 6 weeks building it.
Yeah.
But you took all the knowledge over the course of your 20s to learn how to build things. $15 on a domain, spun everything up, and then this is where you are a year later. But it goes to show that you had this journey you had to go on to before you actually struck, something. You struck a chord with something that you were building. And maybe that medical thing website was really cool, but the fact remains, though, it literally was just human capital that you had put into this creative thing that you've created.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about software. It's one of the reasons why I studied it, was because I felt like if I studied any other science, I would need to get like someone's approval, someone with money to let me build things. That would be like the only way I'd be able to build things, is if, you know, if I study chemistry, I need someone to provide me with a chemistry lab. If I study any kind of engineering, I need someone to provide me with the tools and the approval of the whatever. But for software, all I need is a computer. Like, that's really all I need, and I can make stuff. That's like kind of the value, or that's something I saw very early when I was studying computer science. Is like, that's why I want to do this. Is like, I don't need any permission to make stuff, and
so cool.
I can be poor. I can be absolutely like destitute. As long as I have a computer, I can make stuff. Money. Yeah, I can figure out. I can just continue building things.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
How many shitcoins are you holding right now? How many liquid tokens are you holding?
I might have liquid in some like wallet, but I have
some liquid tokens. I don't even know what they are, but they're in they're my thing.
Whatever. Well, it's not. It's like it's like wrapped Bitcoin or something. It's like,
no, I don't have any wrapped Bitcoin. I'm not that bad.
No, but on liquid, it's like, no, you peg Bitcoin in.
Yeah, I think I have like liquid some tether. I think I have some like liquid tether or something.
Oh, I definitely don't have any liquid tether, but yeah, I have some of that.
You have tether?
No, I have some liquid. I have some liquid Bitcoin in a wallet, I think.
Oh, you have wrapped Bitcoin?
Well, that's like the only Bitcoin you have on liquid is wrapped Bitcoin. You don't get.
It's like WBTC. It's like the one from Ethereum.
I don't think it's like that so much. It's like pegged somehow. It's like different. It's like a little bit different, but I think it's quite similar. So I have cents. I have like, in fiat terms, I have like cents of that are just like left in a wallet.
If you were running liquid, what would you have done differently? Like if you're, I guess I should just reword this question. If you're developing on liquid, what would you have done? What would you do to get more market traction? Or you think it's just, you can't do that?
I don't think there's much interest in it succeed. I think they've done everything they can with it, but I think it just really needs applications built on it. And one that some people seem to be excited about is Fuji. Is fuji.money. This, like, they're producing a stable coin that's backed exclusively by Bitcoin, and that's being built on liquid. And maybe that's an interesting application of liquid. But I think we do like this idea of like federations and specifically in the form of like fediments. Like for some reason, Bitcoiners like that a lot more than liquid. And what these things kind of are like little like liquid. They're like little side chains, although they're not chains. They're just like, but it's like a federation of trusted people, like in liquid. How blocks get mined on liquid is you have a certain number of signers, a certain number of people say this is good, and in Fedimint it's very similar. There's just no chain really. You just trust that they're maintaining history correctly. It's kind of, so it's a very it's perhaps a little more trusted relationship than you have in liquid, but because it's presumed to be like on a smaller scale, and it has some of these advantages for custodial, like for custodianship, people are like more in favor of it.
Yeah. Interesting. Would you ever make a liquid token?
No. What would I make a liquid token for?
I don't know. Maybe like a stacker token or something.
What would I do that for?
I don't know. I'm asking. That's why I asked you the question.
I don't see any point to it. I think I like that. One of the things that I like about Stacker News, which is perhaps bad for the product, is that there isn't much like keeping a user on Stacker News. Like what they earn, they can take off immediately. So all the value that they've like created or accumulated on Stacker News is withdrawable, and they can just take it somewhere else in their life.
It's kind of cool though, right? I mean, it's custodial, but
yeah,
they're sweeping your wallet all the time.
Yeah, but they can pick up and leave. Eventually we'll have the ability where like auto sweep. I think that'll be like before we have a non-custodial wallet, you can just set a limit. Like every day, if my wallet bounces over like 1,000 sats, I want it to send to my home node.
I think keeping about 100,000 sats on there works for me. I think any more than that, then I'm kind of like, like around 100,000
Yeah,
that's why I've been spending more of my sats on there lately. I went from like 175 to like 125 now because I've been trying to disseminate all these like sats that I've accumulated over the course of time.
Yeah,
or over the course of a year since it's been open, and now it's about a 125. I have another 25,000 sats to give away on there. So I've been trying to do it.
Yeah,
through there, keeping it there, and then I'm going to try to stay at 100,000 sats. What do you think about that?
I think that would be the absolute cap. So that's going to be my recommendation to people is like keep no more than like 50 to 100,000. I'll probably at some point institute some kind of like flag where it like warns you, like it's persistent, it's there. It's like your wallet is too full. You need to get money out of here. But yeah, I think that, so you could set a limit in this proposed feature. You could set a limit, say, I only want to keep 100,000 sats on here, and everything that I earn over it withdraws to a Lightning address that you provide, or it withdraws to like your node. You give me a macaroon that allows me to generate invoices for your node, and I can just send all of the sats off.
So lnurl, you were like one of the first ones to actually implement that, right? Last year.
lnurl auth?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, Super was quite aggressively requesting it on Twitter from me. And
this is before you met him, or?
This is before I met him. And he's just like, yeah, he's like, you should use lnurl auth. And I was like, okay, why not? I'll do it if that's what people want. I was very like, try to be very sensitive to what people ask for all the time. And back then there was like less, obviously fewer feature requests than there are now. And that seemed fairly easy, and anything I could do to make it more like Lightning native, I wanted to do. And then, so I implemented that, and that was, that got the site probably more attention.
Yeah, I would say
than a lot of things early on.
Cause you're always on these lists of like, you're always on these lists of like, companies, like you would see the little graphic thing that somebody makes.
It's still it's still like this thing. Like I think one of our best performing memes on the Stacker News Twitter account is a Drake Lightning login meme where he's like shaking away Google login and like Twitter login or whatever.
I love Twitter login.
Yeah.
How many Twitter logins do you have on the site? Is it just me?
Oh, how many Twitter logins? I would guess it's probably like anywhere from 25 to 50%.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Thought it would have been lower than that. Is everybody mostly using lnurl auth, or are they? I
mean, we have 4 login methods. So
lnurl auth.
So lnurl auth, when I last checked, which was like 6 months ago, it was like 20%.
Wow.
It might be a little bit higher now. But the problem is people with lnurl auth, they're not very disciplined with it yet, and so they don't realize if they lose their like node key, they're logged out of their account. So I've had a couple of people get upset about not being able to log into their account anymore, and I just can't let them into their account because I could be letting them into someone else's account. So I can't just like trust that they're saying that's account. I mean, and I believe them. Like I believe that they're saying that that's their account, and there's really no reason to take someone else's account right now, especially most people only have like a couple hundred sats in their wallet or whatever. So, but at the same time, I can't create a precedent where if someone just asks me sincerely enough, I let them into someone else's account.
What's your biggest fear when it comes to Stacker News as it gets built out over the next 24 or 36 months? What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is
besides it failing, obviously. Besides that.
Yeah, so
I know you're going to say that.
So failure is definitely one of my biggest fears.
What's the second one then?
Well, all of the things that I'd be afraid of are modes of failure. So
is there, okay, let me reword it then. Is there something that you expect to happen over the course of the next 24 or 36 months that you think that you can avoid it? There's a way where you can prevent it from happening. Like, right, you see these movies where it's like, oh, I see how the future is going to unfold, but if I do this here, then it should push enough. It should push the asteroid away from Earth.
I'm really afraid I never get to the point of decentralizing it. Like that is maybe the thing I think about the most. Is it continues to keep growing in a centralized fashion, and it might be hard to like put the brakes on that and decentralize it. versus if it weren't growing so much, it might be a little easier to decentralize it.
How do you plan on decentralizing? I know when you had told me in the early days, it would basically then be like multiple Stacker news that you could log into. I don't know. I don't remember exactly. It would have to go back to the original podcast we did.
My views on this have changed quite a bit, but yeah, I think that, so that's very consistent with like a Web 5 model or like a kind of a nostr model of there's lots of relays around. I'm not so sure like users are ready for that yet, though. I don't think people are ready for that level of decentralization. I don't think the relay ecosystem isn't great yet. There's no incentivization. And I believe something like nostr will eventually get these layers. It just doesn't exist yet. And I don't think my main problem with this is that I don't think users are ready for some of like the UX problems that these things have. I think it might be better if I kind of allow users to pull off their identity and their data and like at any time and like regularly sync it, kind of like we're talking about sweeping your wallet. You can sweep your data. Like at any point you can take Carr and all of Carr's data that he's had on Stacker News, and you could plug it into some other Stacker News. Like someone else runs a Stacker News, they have another instance of it running, and you want all of your data to be shared on that instance too.
So more like a Mastodon model?
So that would be kind of like a federated type of thing. The only difference is with Mastodon, I don't believe you can really migrate between. The problem with Mastodon is your identity is federated. So your identity, you sign up on Bitcoin, on like bitcoinhackers.org, and you are Carr on bitcoinhackers.org. You aren't Carr on, I don't know, one of these other like Mastodon servers. Your identity, it's kind of like your Gmail account. Like you can't just take your Gmail account and turn it onto this other one. Like your identity is tied to that domain name. And so I think the move is to have unfederated identities, and that's also consistent with the relay system whenever the relay systems are ready, but it would probably start out, I would think, as a federated thing. But I don't know. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm seeing you right now. You're doing this thing what you always do, where you're like trying to think it out in your head and play it out, and it's just not coming to you yet.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah. I need to spend time on it, and I haven't spent a lot of time on it. But it's like the main thing I'm worried about, because I want to get to the point where scale is massive, and I want it to be like unstoppable. This unstoppable thing that just like permeates. That allows for really a lot of freedom in terms of like people communicating with each other and organizing and like discovering cool things that are going on in the world. And apparently it's very hard to do that in a centralized way, because you end up with lots of politics and stuff getting injected into like the culture.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, just having Bitcoin, I don't think does away with that. I think, in some ways it improves it, but in some ways
maybe what happens over time is you have like everybody becomes a Bitcoiner, and then everybody just acts accordingly, I guess, on the site. Maybe that happens. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I got two more questions before we have to wrap this like in an hour, so it's kind of the time limit that we have. Two more questions. Design. What do you think about Stacker News design? Like, what's your honest opinion with the way the site looks right now? I frankly love it, but I've always loved that about your site. I think we clicked early on about like, oh, I like how you did this. Like, it's very unique and very different, and that's what I liked about Stacker News, and I think it still has that. But how do you think about design when it comes to just Stacker News?
Just Stacker News. Outside of Stacker News, I personally like a little bit of brutalism. Like I like things to be almost like slightly exciting when you see them. Like they're kind of like just a little bit out of place. That's personally what I like when I see something. I like things to be a little bit eccentric. I like things to be eclectic a little bit. And so I'd like to keep some of that in Stacker News as it grows as much as possible. I think right now it has outgrown its design a little bit.
I think so?
Yeah, just a little bit. There are it's a little bit more kludgy. I'd like to simplify things again and like really reduce the UI, because I've been adding a lot of stuff to the UI, like little new features and things. And I think specifically with the nav bar, there's like a lot. It's getting kind of a lot, especially on mobile. It needs a really refined mobile interface, I think. But there are, I think, improvements that can be made there. I don't think like super dramatic ones, but I'd like some improvements there. But there, there's a lot to consider. Like, do we replace usernames that we display now with like profile images? I don't know. That's getting in a weird territory because it becomes very
social,
Web 2.0.
I was going to say it becomes very social, and it's just like, that's not what that is about.
No,
it's not about your face. It's about like the content that you're producing and your ideas.
Yeah. So that's the problem I have with the profile images. And so, but then there's an advantage to using the profile images because they're all the same size. So when you're designing a UI, it makes it very convenient. You can reason about the size, but a person's username on Stacker News can be 1 character or 20 characters. So
if the way I look at it is, if you're going to iterate over the course of like 5 years, the design, I wouldn't go off and like, I think the biggest mistake like Digg did, right, was like release Digg 2.0 or whatever they called it. And they made it such a big deal, and like everybody hated the design, even though it was actually really cool at the time. I think it's just better just to like slowly, like maybe like the way you've been doing it, where you just like clean up something that, like the briefcase, like you cleaned up the briefcase. It was like, but maybe you can do that where maybe the buttons or maybe just the nav bar gets changed first, but maybe you already have a full on rollout over the course of a year. I think when you build something like that, especially when it's still new and fresh, so you can still have people defect from it. I would do it over the course of a year, at least 18 to 24 months. I wouldn't do it full on, make the switch, and then it becomes jarring and shocking. Like,
no, definitely. I think it should be a smooth transition to whatever new UI is provided on Stacker News. I don't think much is going to get deviated. I think there will be a huge update on mobile UI, just because I think you saw Nout's.
That's nice.
It was. Overall the design was. The UI was awful, but the UX was great. Like the placement of the buttons was much better. All of that is great, and so that's what I want for mobile. When you're in the mobile browser with Stacker News, I want a UI like that. I think there are like other subtle things that can be done to the like desktop website that can improve it. I think I also don't love the Stacker News logo on light mode. It actually doesn't look great.
The yellow, right?
Yeah, the yellow like around it doesn't look fantastic. I've been convinced of that. So I need to figure out how to do that better. Maybe we create a yellow background around it, but it's just right now it's like glowing yellow around it, and it just doesn't look good. But there's like a bunch of stuff like that I really want to get better.
Yeah, for sure. I will say this before we move on to the last question is I do know there's a lot of Bitcoiners that are using, like you said originally, and we totally disagreed on this, but a lot of people are using the website as an app on their iPhone. Like I do see that a lot when they pull up Stacker News. It's not pulling it from the browser.
Yeah, 50% of our users use a mobile browser. 50% of all Stacker News.
Well, they even have it as an icon.
Yeah, you can have a little icon. Yeah. We can make that experience better. I know a lot of Bitcoiners don't use Bitcoin Twitter, the mobile website, but that's how I interact with Twitter on my phone, as I only have it in my browser. And it's actually a very nice experience. It's like very, very similar to the actual app. And so that's what I want to do versus like developing mobile apps. First, I'd like to develop a very good mobile website. And then maybe we develop mobile apps like a couple, maybe 6 months from now or something. But
yeah,
first step, a mobile website.
So here, I got a spicy last question for you. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Out of all the Web 2.0 companies right now, which is the first one that's going to die?
Ooh.
I'm talking about like all. I'm talking about Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Google. I'll throw Google up there. We're throwing all the Web 2.0 companies.
Does Google even have a web? Okay. Oh, you mean they're like search products?
Whatever. Any one of their little alphabet categories, soups, whatever they have. Like, which one, not just Google, but every single one of these Web 2.0 companies, like which is the first one that's going to be the AOL where it just crashes and burns or it gets engulfed? Like which one of these?
I don't know why I feel this way. It just feels like it's not going any good direction. It's probably Reddit.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not just saying that because you have Stacker News?
No, I mean, I don't think so. But maybe that is true. It just feels kind of soulless to me a little bit. I don't know, but I know it has a lot of great communities on it. So maybe that's just like my own usage of it.
Do you think Reddit's gonna die first?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it getting better. It seems to only get worse. Like any updates I see to it seem to just make the experience worse, and just there's more and more and more.
I used to go on there up until last year. Now I don't remember the last time I logged into Reddit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like Reddit, but I just think of all the Web 2.0 companies, it has like an extremely woke culture. Maybe Facebook but I also don't use a lot of these things. Like I don't use Facebook, I don't use Instagram. I only use Twitter, and I use Reddit. That's like it.
I think unfortunately I would have to say it's probably, and this is probably me just hating on that company more, but I think it's going to be Facebook. I think it's going to go the way of MySpace at some point, and it'll just be a chapter that people remember, but could be wrong.
It's not a bad take. I think it has a similar problem that Reddit has, where it just kind of got really big, and it's too much. It's like they added, there's like too many feet. Like in order to get that big, they started trying to suit too many people. They like lost product focus, and now Facebook isn't just Facebook. It's also Instagram. It's also the metaverse. It's like, what are they doing? The only reason I think I would not discount Facebook as heavily is because Zuckerberg is a beast, and so I just don't see. Like I don't think it doesn't matter. He can convince people with taste to work for him.
No, he can convince people with money, fiat money, and to work for him, not with taste.
Some people who with taste like fiat money.
Yeah, it's usually a bad taste. Let me finish one more. I know you want to combat that. One more thing. If you do redesign for Stacker News, will you make all our Stacker News profiles look like MySpace?
How so?
No, this is a joke. It was a joke.
But I do want to give users more control over their profile page.
It would be cool where you go to your profile page and it looks exactly like MySpace. And then you like post what you're up to. And it literally just is like a MySpace feed on your profile. Like what you've been posting on there. And it literally just like maybe what you're listening to. Like it's basically a MySpace profile on your profile.
It's not a bad idea. Now it had a similar idea to this.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, where he's like, he like wants me to list all of your like top performing posts and like, have much more person.
I honestly, I feel like this is not just us. I feel like me personally, I just want a MySpace profile again. Like that's what I want. I want a place where I can just go show my MySpace profile and then like have my little profile. It'll have the conversations. You can go in there and comment on your profile, and then it'll show the post that I'm doing. It's like a feed, and then it maybe has my images, or maybe it connects to my Spotify account, and it shows what I'm listening to. It has my playlist. Like I want a MySpace all over again, but maybe it's a Stacker space. Who knows? Anyways,
that's interesting. Yeah, that's more of a social media product. I think it would require us going more social, but I think there are like shades of MySpace that I could pepper into the profile that I'm not right now that maybe would.
I think that would be cool. Anyways, that way you don't have to do DMs.
Why wouldn't I have to do DMs?
Because they can just go to your profile and post on it.
I see. You can already go to someone's profile and post on it.
Can we? Really?
Yeah, you can comment under someone's profile right now.
Oh yeah, you can do that already.
Yeah, so it's I got a little bit of that flavor where the profile's a little bit interactive, but it's not.
You're a quarter there.
I'm a quarter, maybe like 10% of the way there.
Let us put Giphies on there. What was the things that they had where they was like?
Oh, you could hack a HTML into your MySpace pages.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
and it was just like all this glitter.
Yeah, you could do all kinds of. They had very poor like HTML.
That's why I loved it so much.
Protections.
It was awful, but it was great at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for coming on the show.
Good days. Thanks for having me, Carr.
Anything else you got?
Main thing is that Zuckerberg, I think, is.
Why are you obsessed with Zuckerberg?
I think he's just really. I think he is like. That's the thing. Like Reddit doesn't have a similar person. That's like the only reason why I would say Reddit is more likely to die than Facebook, is because they don't have someone who is like, they don't have like a Colonel Mustard or whatever. Or like what?
No, I'm not gonna like Zuckerberg is Zuckerberg for a reason, but yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not gonna be Facebook. Maybe it's gonna be Reddit. Yeah, maybe you're right. You kind of convinced me.
Maybe neither of them die. I mean, I don't. You asked me which one of them will die. I actually don't think either. Like,
so you don't think any of these Web 2.0 companies are going to die?
There's just too much power is accumulated too fast. Like these companies,
not even like Groupon or Yelp or any of like, they don't get destroyed by this lightning value for value model.
Oh, those companies do. I thought you meant social media companies, like big.
No, I meant media. Like Web 2.0 companies.
Oh. The network effects are pretty intense with some of these things. I don't know how you beat them. Like Yelp reviews are just, in order to bootstrap a review service like that would be, if you knew how hard it was for them to bootstrap.
I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I think you underestimate the power of the SAT.
Who's gonna compete with Yelp? In your opinion?
It's not about competing. It's literally just about incentivizing.
I mean, I think you're right. I think maybe I think there's an easier path to incentivizing reviews on a Yelp like app.
Like what Fountain's doing, like Oscar's doing.
Yeah,
it's like
where you pay people.
Like it was on 9 to 5 Mac. Eventually, that's going to be the thing where you're going to start noticing more and more people come on because of the value for value. I think people underestimate the incentivize model. Like, when you incentivize people to do something, like they're going to do it. Like you fix the incentives. This goes back to fix the money, fix the world. Can't believe I have to say this. It's the truth.
I mean, I get it. I didn't, but I don't think it seems a little too early to build a Yelp competitor with Sats baked in.
Yeah, I'm not saying to go out and build this. I'm just saying like which one of the Web 2.0 aren't going to be able to make that switch. Maybe they all stay alive. Maybe they all just like,
I don't know. None of them will be able to. It's such a drastic change to a business model. They won't survive. Like if we do actually cross the chasm to what like I define as Web3, which is where
users, your definition of it?
Which is where users get compensated for the value they're providing. In the case of like Yelp, they get compensated for leaving reviews. On Stack Renews, they get compensated for engaging and providing like good content. Yeah, I don't think if that like model survives, if my version of Web3 survives, where we go from free with ads to paying, I don't think any of these companies cross.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. That's what I was like. That was a question. But
okay, I didn't.
So you're saying all of them are going to die, including Facebook? I don't think Facebook. No.
Actually, I think Facebook might survive a transition like that. That's how much of a beast I'm pretty sure Zuckerberg
Google
is.
too, right?
Google, I think, also could probably absorb. They're just too big and they have people that care about them still.
Yeah,
and there's
nothing wrong with that. We still use Google stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't have anything much against Google other than the like surveillance state stuff.
Sort of censorship.
Censorship is kind of, I don't really know much about this.
Right now, they're a media company at this point. They're just controlling the media narrative. So it's a lot of things.
Yeah, they're YouTube and stuff. But I mean, their algorithm is great. I don't know. Like,
I mean, it was, they build
brilliant.
Cool products, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Zap.